You hired more people because the business needed more capacity, more hands, more coverage, more leadership, and more ability to deliver without everything sitting on you. Only now it comes back later. It comes back with more people involved. It comes back after the customer is already frustrated, after the team has already gone around in circles, and after a manager has tried to handle it but has not quite carried the decision. This often happens around the shift from 8 people to 18 people. On paper, that doesn't sound dramatic. It's 10 more people. But the difference between 8 and 18 is not just headcount, it is the leadership model. At 8 people, the founder can often carry the standard personally. They're close to the work, hear customer issues quickly, see when something's off, and make decisions the whole team feels almost immediately. It's not always clean, but it's close. At 18 people, something changes. You either have a management layer or you should have one. The founder is no longer directly connected to the front line in the same way. Someone else is. The title matters less than the function. Someone else now sits between the founder and the day-to-day work. That is the inflection point. At 18 people, the standard has to travel through someone else. The urgency has to travel. The judgment has to travel. The customer promise has to travel. And at any time something has to travel, it can be strengthened, diluted, delayed, or distorted. And if you have more than 18 people, does the problem solve itself? Absolutely not. At 30, 40, 50 people, if the situation is not addressed, life can be pretty miserable for the founder, and they can begin to wonder if it's all worth it. The founder's private question is usually not, how do I design a better operating model? It is, why does everything still come back to me? Or if I step back, will the standard drop? By the end of this episode, I want to give you a cleaner way to think about that shift and a practical way to build the first management layer without losing the founder's way of working. Because the answer is not simply to let go, and it is not to stay across everything forever. The answer is to build a management layer that can carry what made the business good. This is the key idea. Founder energy should scale, but founder dependency should not. Founder energy is the urgency, standards, customer obsession, commercial instinct, directness, and pace that helped build the business. Founder dependency is when those things only happen because the founder is personally involved. That distinction matters because the founder's early behaviors were often the reason the business grew. Being across everything, making fast decisions, being directive, and staying close to customers. At 18 people, those strengths need to be translated through managers. A management layer is not just a reporting line. It is a translation layer. It translates the founder's expectations into daily decisions. It translates customer issues into action. It translates standards into conversations. It translates accountability into behavior. When that layer is unclear, the founder feels it quickly and issues arrive late. Decisions feel less commercially sharp. Customers get inconsistent experiences. Staff work around their managers and managers become cautious because they're not sure what they can decide. Here is the pattern we see a lot. At 8 people, a customer issue comes in, the customer is unhappy. The frontline person tells the founder and the founder makes a call. Bring them now. Do not send another vague email. Tell them what happened, tell them what we're doing about it, and make sure they're not surprised again. It is direct, fast, and clear. At 18 people, the same issue may not come straight to the founder. A frontline person tells their team lead. The team lead is not sure whether they have authority to fix it, so they send a cautious update. The customer gets frustrated because the message is vague. The founder hears about it later, sees the risk, jumps in, and fixes it. The customer sees the rescue. The business pays for the mess. The issue got fixed, but the business did not necessarily get stronger. The manager may have learnt that when it gets uncomfortable, the founder will step in. The frontline person may have learned that the manager is not really the decision maker. Founder involvement often works in the short term. It is usually faster and cleaner. But every time the founder fixes something the management layer should be learning to carry, the business gets the short-term answer and loses the long-term capability. There is one more thing that makes this harder. Once a founder sees the problem, they often try to fix everything too quickly. New roles, new meetings, new standards, new decision rights, new accountability language, new expectations around managers. Suddenly the team is not learning, they're bracing. People do not learn the founder's way of working by drinking from a fire hose. They learn it through clarity, practice, feedback, repetition, and time. Implementation is not the same as adoption. A change is not working because it's been explained. It is working when people can use it under pressure. So yes, make progress in 90 days, but do not pretend the whole transformation will be finished in 90 days. Think in terms of a 3-year direction, 12-month priorities, and 90-day steps. That keeps the ambition high without turning the business into a fire hose of change. Quick pause. If this episode is useful, follow Lead to Grow wherever you're listening or watching. And if you know a founder who might have felt or is still feeling this 8 to 18 shift, perhaps send this episode privately. All right, back to the practical part. At Inject, we work with growing businesses on the people systems that sit underneath performance. We have worked with businesses who have solved the 8 to 18 problem, those who haven't, and everything in between. The first thing I'll do is treat every issue that comes back to the founder as a diagnostic, not just a problem to solve. Sometimes you need to fix the immediate issue, especially if a customer, person, or commercial risk is exposed. But once that's handled, ask, why did this need to come back to me? Was the manager unclear on authority? Was the standard unclear? Was the process unclear? Was the person avoiding a difficult conversation? Or was the founder still rewarding the bypass by accepting it every time? Now, this last question is uncomfortable, but important. If a founder says they want managers to own the work, but keeps answering every bypass, the old system stays alive. People believe the system they experience, not the system you announce. A useful sentence is, that sits with your manager. Have you taken it to them first? And when a manager brings a decision back too quickly, ask, are you asking for my approval, my view, or are you escalating a risk? That is a diagnostic. Number 2 is where founders often overcorrect. So the second thing I would do is slow the change down enough for people to actually learn. This does not mean lose momentum. It does not mean confusing speed with absorption. The founder might see 15 things that need fixing, but the management layer probably cannot absorb 15 changes at once. Ask, what is the most important part of the founder's way of working that we need managers to carry first? It might be customer escalation, commercial discipline, direct conversations, decision speed, or quality control. Pick 1 or 2 and build around those first. For the first 90 days, the goal might be to make customer escalation clearer, define which decisions managers can make, and coach the conversations that keep coming back to the founder. That is number 2. Number 3 is where the founder has to turn instinct into language. The third thing I would do is name the founder principles and separate them from founder preferences. Founders often know when something is wrong before they can explain why. They might look at a client update and say, that's not good enough. They might hear a sales conversation and think, we're giving away too much. They might be right, but if the feedback stops there, the manager doesn't learn the judgment. The founder needs to move from reaction to language. So instead of saying that update is not good enough, they might say, the principle here is that clients should not be surprised by bad news. When there's the delay, we do not hide behind vague wording. We tell them what happened, what we're doing, what they can expect next, and when they'll hear from us again. That's teachable. And this is where the founder needs to separate principles from preferences. Clients should not be surprised by bad news is the principle. I want to be copied into every client email might be a control habit. Commercial risk should be escalated early is a principle. I personally approve every small goodwill gesture might be the bottleneck. When everything is treated as sacred, managers cannot tell the difference between the standard and the founder's style. That's number 3. Now, number 4 is where structure has to catch up to intent. The fourth thing I would do is map the work, assign accountability, and build roles and decision rights around those accountabilities. A lot of growing businesses go straight to the organizational chart. They move boxes around, they rewrite position descriptions, create titles, and add a management layer and hope the confusion disappears. But if the work itself has not been mapped clearly, the new structure can simply formalize the confusion. At Inject, one of the ways we do this is through what we call the organizational process universe. The idea is to map the actual universe of work the business needs to perform, the external customer value chain, from attracting work through to delivery and retention, and the internal customer value chain, from hiring and onboarding through to performance, remuneration, systems, rhythm, and team development. Once the work is mapped, assign accountability. So for each process, who has primary accountability? That's P. Who has contributory, meaning the process cannot be done properly without them? That's C. Who has remote involvement? That's R. And where there is genuinely joint primary accountability, that's J. Involvement often gets mistaken for accountability. You can have 6 people involved in a process and still have nobody clearly accountable for the outcome. The customer onboarding. Who owns the onboarding outcome? Who contributes from sales, delivery, operations, and finance? Who only needs remote involvement? Where has the founder been acting as the real P, even though someone else has that title? That conversation is far more useful than simply saying managers need to step up. Once accountability is clear, role clarity becomes much more practical. A position description should not just be a task list with a job title at the top. It should be the role's accountability contract with the business, expanding on the position description to outline what decisions a person can make, what should be escalated, what standards it protects, and what good looks like are critical for empowerment. Empowerment does not mean everyone just go and make it up. It means you have enough context, authority, and boundaries to make good decisions without needing me in the room. Some decisions a manager can make without the founder, some they can make and tell the founder afterwards, some require options and a recommendation. Some need to be escalated before anyone acts. That gives managers freedom inside guidelines. It also gives a founder a way to step back gradually. The step back should not be a cliff. It should be a handover. At first, the founder makes the decision, explains the judgment. Then the manager brings a recommendation to the founder and coaches the thinking. Eventually, the manager just makes a decision inside the agreed guidelines, and the pattern is reviewed to the management rhythm. You also need the right people in the right roles. A growing founder-led business needs people who are curious, coachable, commercially aware, and willing to learn how the business works. Behavioral fit matters too. A manager who avoids conflict may delay performance conversations. A manager who wants certainty may slow down the business that needs pace. Role clarity tells you what the role needs. Behavioral insight helps you understand whether the person is naturally aligned to it, stretched by it, or likely to avoid parts of it. The most common mistake I see is the founder promotes a good individual employee into a leadership position that they are not suited to nor ready for. Listen to the Lead to Grow episode titled, Can Anyone Be a Good Leader? For more info on that. Once the work, accountability, and decision rights are clearer, the final step is where the management layer starts to build muscle. Once I cover this final step, I'll give you a quick diagnostic to identify which gaps might be holding you back. Okay, let's go into this fifth and final step. What I will do is coach the management layer through practice, feedback, loops, and measures. A lot of founders think they've transferred the standard because they've explained the standard. But leadership is not just information, it's behavior under pressure. The client conversation when something has gone wrong. The performance conversation when someone is not meeting the standard. And the commercial conversation when a customer is asking for something that does not make sense. Managers need to practice these conversations. They need to bring examples. They need to hear how the founder would think through the issue. They need to try the language. They need feedback. A founder might say, here is the issue I'm seeing. Here is the principle I would use. Here is the risk I would manage. Talk me through how you would handle it. If you only give managers the answer, they'll just keep coming back for the next answer. If you teach them the judgment, they start making better calls without you. You also need feedback loops. Silence is not evidence. Are fewer decisions coming back to the founder? Are managers bringing options and a recommendation instead of asking, what should I do? Are customer issues being escalated earlier? Are team members going to their managers instead of bypassing them? Is the founder spending more time on direction, coaching, and signal, and less time on rescuing the same issues? This is how the founder steps back without going blind. Instead of being across everything through interruption, the founder stays across the right signals through rhythm. A weekly management meeting should look at the priorities, exceptions, customer issues, and blocked accountabilities. One-to-ones with managers should include judgment calls, difficult conversations, and decisions the manager is learning to carry. A monthly customer or frontline review should ask, what are we hearing? What is slowing us down? What is the standard slipping? Here's a quick diagnostic for the 8 to 18 stage. Number 1, do we have a real management layer, or is the founder still directly leading everyone by default? Number 2, have we named the founder principles that must scale and separated them from personal preferences? Number 3, have we mapped the work and made clear who is P, C, R, or J? Number 4, do managers know what they can decide, what they should escalate, and what standard they are protecting? Number 5, are we coaching managers through the conversations and decisions they need to carry, or just giving them information? Number 6, do we have feedback loops that show where the founder dependency is actually reducing? If the answer is no to most of those, your managers may not be the core problem. The business may have reached the management layer inflection point before it has built management layer capability. So before you tell yourself, I just need to step back, ask the better question. Have I built the management layer that can carry what I'm stepping back from? Because at 8 people, the founder can often lead by line of sight. At 18 people, the founder has to lead through managers. And that management layer is where the founder's way of working either scales or slowly gets diluted. Materially more than 18 people, 30, 40, 50 staff, and life can become very unpleasant if you haven't solved this problem. The goal is not to build a business that no longer feels like the founder. The goal is to build a business where the founder's standards, pace, and judgment can survive without the founder being in every room. That is the 8 to 18 shift. Not less founder energy, less founder dependency. Leadership doesn't grow by accident. It grows because you choose to work on it. Thanks for making the time today. I'm Tommy Sim, and this is Lead to Grow. New episodes come out regularly. Hope to see you again.